Hello everyone, this is Game News USA here, and today I have a very special guest. His name is Den of Timms. Go ahead, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello everyone, my name is AJ Timms. I run the YouTube channel Den of Timms. I also run a second YouTube channel called Behind Horror House Media. Funny story, the reason I had to change it to Den of Timms was because I'm waiting on some paperwork to finish from my state in order for me to have a license to use the name Horror House Media because it was copyrighted. Yay.
So you plan on going to that when you can?
Yeah, as soon as I can get full access, I'm planning on going back to my original username and continue on from where I left off.
Cool. Is the Den of Timms, is that kind of like it's a little bit of a play on, isn't it a little bit of a play on the Hart family with their dungeon or their den or whatever they called it?
So the name, where the username originally came from, was from a friend of mine. His name is Charles. We were talking one night on the phone because I was being a musician and all, and him being a fan of a lot of local bands around here, made the joke that because I have a lot of siblings, I have 9 siblings, so he made the joke that we should have all got together and formed a band and named it the Den of Timms after a den of lions, with the joke being that if you went after one, the rest of us would with them.
Sweet, I like it. So a little bit about you. I've seen some of your videos. I think they're very good, especially your new series, Epic or Trash. You want to tell everybody about that?
So, the kind of started on the history of my channel. I originally went by my name, which is Alejandro Timms. And I started posting videos because I had seen my siblings posting pictures and videos of them doing promos or them showing off their bass work or guitar work. And I was like, you know what? I could do that too. So I just, at the time, all I had was like an iPhone 6, and I stuck it on a music stand that I use, that I still have. It's actually off to the corner over there. And I started recording videos of me playing. What brought up the show that I have now, Epic or Trash, was because I was taking a look at my analytics one day, and I was noticing the videos had dropped to almost nothing, and I was trying to figure out what can I do to improve that. And one of the YouTube's suggestion was to make other kinds of content, to do other forms. So I got with some of my friends and said, hey, let's do a show together. Let's do like kind of like a podcast. Originally, it was going to make us sit around and we talked about whatever. And then that's when I saw Rich's video, or RTU, Review Tech USA, whichever one you call them by, Dickers. I've heard a few others. I saw his gaming retrospective, and I had been seriously hyped for that video. I legitimately wanted to watch it because I legitimately wanted to hear his history, because at the time I didn't really know much about Rich, other than I knew that he was a drama YouTuber that reviewed tech. So when I watched the video, I was expecting like a kind of a sit-down talk where he talked about like his history in the gaming industry and what brought him to doing what he does now. What I got instead was about an hour of my life wasted on jokes that made no sense and stories that I don't think I would have ever told.
You know, he started that video off, I think, by burping or farting or something, and
he started off by burping. Then he cut to ban Amber Heard's turds. Then he said, "Let's talk about my man history," and then it went to Mario farting on a pizza box. And I was like, what the fuck?
Netflix style quality, right?
Yeah, that Netflix documentary that I was promised that I never got.
Well, I'm not going to try to oversell this. This is not a Netflix style interview. This is very impromptu, last minute. You know, I think it'd be kind of cool if we had some fans that watched you and me. And if you do, let us know in the comments below, my comments or his comments. Either way, you know, we appreciate any support. Glad to have you on for sure. So I'll tell you a little bit about what we do here on this channel for on your side, so your audience knows. I cover gaming retrospectives. I do top 10 list. I cover the gaming news, and I might occasionally dip my toe in drama, but not really. Maybe a little bit. I don't know. I can ruffle some feathers. But yeah, that's pretty much what we do here. So we just have a good old fun time, and fairly new here to the platform. So hoping to make some friends, and glad we could have this interview for sure. What do you think? Any thoughts on that?
To be honest, I wasn't expecting any interviews because the last gentleman I had spoke to about talking about my father's history in the wrestling business dropped down on me because his admins told him that I was going to ruin his channel or something like that.
Well, let's talk about your father for a second. Where did he wrestle at? What did he do exactly?
So my father got into originally was an officer for the better part of 5+ years, and he worked in Henry and Union City, and he also did a lot of security work. And at that time, officers weren't paid a lot of money, and he was looking for jobs to help feed us because at the time he had 4 of us, and he really needed. Well, he had 2 of us. He had my oldest brother and my second oldest brother, and he was trying to find more money to keep the house up. That's when he ran into Ole and Arn Anderson at a wrestling show, and he talked to Ole about wanting to become a professional wrestler. Ole liked his build, liked his physique, and because he was an officer, it meant he knew how to handle crowds. If, for say, there was a riot, he would be able to get out of there very quickly. So he brought my dad in and trained him. My dad at first wasn't great. Ole didn't like.
He had to go through some bumps, ups and downs.
He had to go through quite a bit. It took him about 9 months to get rehired. But if Ole was still alive, he would be able to testify to this. That my father was the only man he ever hired, fired, and then hired again. If he fired you, that was it. You never worked in that territory again. My dad was the only one that proved himself.
More importantly, did he ever wear a luchador mask like I'm wearing right now?
Well, unfortunately, I can't see the camera on your end, but yes, my dad did wear multiple masks. Although it wasn't luchador style masks, they were the assassin mask, because he was also known as the assassin very late into his career. By that point, my dad had been dealing with a severe heart disease known as cardiomyopathy. And it's a rare genetic heart disease that's a part of a family of heart diseases that are known to cause deformation in the heart. Specifically, his right side was bigger than his left, so it wouldn't properly pump blood into his body, which caused him to get blown up easier. He would struggle to be athletic towards the very end of his life.
Well, so I hear maybe you want to cut your teeth in the wrestling business. You want to wrestle 8-Bit Eric, I hear.
Oh, yes. I've challenged him. I've challenged Keemstar. If Rich ever happens to see this video, I'm challenging you as well. Get in the ring.
Hey, the man can't even walk upstairs without tearing an ACL. I don't think that's happening.
Well, he wants to talk so much smack about how he can beat people. Well, put your money where your mouth is. That's what I say.
Yeah, I mean, I seen that, speaking of Rich, he was watching 8-Bit Eric's wrestling videos the other day, and you know what? It's making 8-Bit Eric's book sales go through the roof, so that's great promotion. I'd love it if Rich started talking about one of us, you know?
Well, Rich kind of did in a way, but not the way I expected.
Yeah, we're kind of beating around the bush in the issue a little bit, but before we get into something Rich had said that was very ridiculous, you know, this whole drama in general between him and JKB and Kino Casino and all the enemies that he's making, what do you make of the whole situation?
excuse me. My thing is the advice I gave to him is the advice I've given to a lot of people is just ignore it. Honestly, the best thing to do is ignore when people are like that, because often they're just seeking attention. And I know that I'm not exactly the greatest when it comes to ignoring people who say horrible things about me. But even then, I'm not going to go out of my way to make all kinds of hit pieces and make claims that aren't true. My thing is that and the advice I gave to Rich was to just walk away. It is not worth it. I remember telling Eric a month before all this went down with Rich on Twitter and everything to let Rich go. Just don't worry about him. Stop making videos on him. He says he wants peace. Let there be peace. Clearly, I was wrong.
You know, I don't, if I was Eric, I would keep doing videos about Rich. It's been very profitable for him. The only one that this is hurting is Rich. Quite honestly, it's, you look at his likes to dislikes ratio, it's pretty crazy. And, you know, it all stemmed from not paying his editor properly. And then even when he did, and then he apologized, to then continue on for 4 months, it's what's made him unhinged. He could have easily have just, hey, he paid him. I remember he made a community post where he said, hey, life is too short. I acted like an angry ape. He pretty much took responsibility, and then he flushed it down the toilet. And then that's what's caused all this grief these last 4 months. And then Jay's bank account got hacked right after Rich called for life ruination. So even if Rich didn't do it, somebody clearly did after Rich called for Jay to be life ruined. And I think that that's pretty wrong. And now we haven't seen either Rich or JKB stream for several days now. What do you make of that incident?
It's really crazy to me to see that, because like I've had a few people in my life that I absolutely wanted to destroy. I will admit that I am not a perfect human being by any stretch of the imagination. I tell people, and for the grace of God, I would not be the man that I am today. If it wasn't for my father, my stepfather, and the grace of God, I would not be who I am today. Granted, there's also a few friends that I would like to mention, but out of respect for their privacy, I'm not going to mention their names here, but they were very helpful as well. And that's what I feel like Rich is missing, is those friends that will step in and help him, because it just really seems like it's everybody piling on top of him and nobody's actually trying to reach out and help him. And then when you, because like I heard those unhinged messages, and I thought to myself, this man truly needs a friend that will help him, that will get him help, because he needs help. I don't think he needs a public thrashing. I think he needs help. But I don't see that happening. And knowing how the internet is, it's only going to get worse. I expect it to get worse. And as far as Jay is concerned...
Do you think this is over, or do you think he's going to come back and more shit's going to happen?
I expect more stuff is going to happen, especially when the police publicly release the information, or someone leaks the police records. I expect more drama to happen.
You know, what I did find, I do like the Kino Casino clips. They're really hilarious. But I do find it hilarious that Lolcow Live recently dunked on him. And you got, literally, you have Boogie and Wing.
Hold on, one second.
All right, so we are back with the Den of Tims. Sorry for any technical difficulties. My editing skills are horrible, so you might have heard some of that. Anyway, we were talking about Lolcow Live dunking on Rich. You know, we're talking about Wings and Boogie was dunking on Rich. And I think it's hilarious, because if you would have told me 6 months ago that Boogie would be able to dunk on Rich and it would be believable, I would have said no freaking way. You know what I mean?
That's why I go back to that. It's I go back to the fact that you talk about how you're better than everybody else, but you befriend these, because there's an old phrase that I was told is that you're the sum total of the friends that you have. I'm like, Rich, you befriend these people and you turn into them, and then you turn around and bash them. I'm like, you not understanding you are allowing your, like, I know I'm turning into Dr. Phil here, but Dr. Phil would agree with me on this, and a lot of psychologists would agree with me on this, that you allowed these people in your life. They've influenced you into this. What did you think was going to happen? Why do you think Jay kept saying do the game news? It wasn't just because it was profitable. It's because it kept you looking good. It kept you away from this kind of people and this kind of content. I'm like, that's the biggest reason why I didn't want to start the Epic or Trash show at all, was because I didn't want to connect myself to this kind of community. I don't hate people in there. I have people that I watch, Mutahar, Moist Critical, CoffeeZilla.
Right.
And
speaking of all those people, they were critical of Boogie recently. Now that we're kind of moving off of Rich, this isn't the Rich show. He probably doesn't have any real life friends anyway. But just telling the truth, Boogie at least has real life friends I've seen in the documentary, and he actually has a girlfriend, unlike Rich. But although she's 30 years younger, that's a whole nother can of worms. But what do you think of Boogie's crypto scam?
I remember talking to a couple of my brothers a few years ago, and I was telling them that I really believed that Bitcoin was going to be the future of currency, because I had seen I've seen the articles where the government was taking a look at it. And from what I'm saying is the SEC is currently looking at turning Bitcoin into a official U.S. currency, from what I understood. So I originally thought that, yeah, I could see this becoming a thing. Why wouldn't it be? If there is profit to be made, the government's going to get involved. When I started seeing all these crypto scams like CryptoZoo and Save the Kids and a couple others, I thought to myself, I'm going to stay out of this market. I don't want to be involved in a place where there's no rules, no regulations, and there's no saving me if something goes wrong. Unlike with the stock market, there is some recourse with the stock market if something were to happen to me. Or I should say, to the investment that I made. So and I know Boogie had to have seen these videos because they were big. These aren't little things. Like, Logan Paul is suing CoffeeZilla again for this, for the 3 videos that he made. So it's obviously not a joke. So the fact that Boogie took a $10,000 bribe, and that's what it is a bribe. Let's not mince words here. That was a bribe to sacrifice what's left of his reputation for a joke coin, if I remember correctly, is what he called it.
Hey, let's pump the brakes on it for a sec. Boogie had no reputation left to start with.
Well, to be fair, he was starting to gain that back with Locale Live. He was starting to get that back.
But when it comes to Boogie, nothing should surprise you anymore. This dude is a greedy scammer. You know, he emotionally manipulated his audience for years. He was Mr. Rogers of the internet till he started calling people Nazis. I have no love lost for Boogie. But I'll tell you something, though. That Andrew Cake character that he did when he promoted the Fatty coin, before I realized, hey, it's a scam, I actually thought that was pretty funny. So I got to give a W to Boogie here for the character, but he takes a massive L for the scam, obviously. That goes without saying. So what do you think? You agree with that?
My opinion, it taints the character, because it's hard to separate the artist from the art, and that goes with music. There's a lot of bands that I listen to music and I love it. Slipknot is a great example of that. Great music, great talent, but when you read into the history of what they did to their drummers, like Jody Jordison, and what they just recently did to Jay Webb and a couple other bandmates, and knowing how Corey Taylor sometimes can be an absolute dick, and Clown isn't too far behind on that either, to me it's like, well, it ruins it for me. Like, the biggest example I'll use, this was a song that my mother could testify to me doing. When I was 5 years old, I used to sing it. It's a cover of Dory Gray's Drift Away. The guy who did it is called Uncle Kracker, spelled with a K. He was arrested and charged and pled guilty to sexual assault and sexual assault and sexual harassment charges, which was lower than what he was actually being charged with. And to me, it kind of ruins his cover of it. And the only reason I listened to it is because that was the song I grew up with as a child.
And so what's your favorite band?
Oh, that's such a hard question. When I was a kid, I grew up watching The Undertaker. He's one of my all-time favorite gimmicks, hence for the black and purple that I'm wearing, referencing The Undertaker and the purple skull. When he was the American Badass, one of the songs he came out to was Limp Bizkit's Rollin'. So when I was young, Limp Bizkit was my favorite band when I was a kid. When I became a teenager, that was Five Finger Death Punch, because I loved the album War is the Answer and what was it, American Capitalist, I believe.
Yeah, American Capitalist, and The Bleeding's good too.
Oh yeah, from Way of the Fist. I love the song Never Enough.
Yeah, that's a good one. For me, Avenged Sevenfold, I even have a tattoo of it on my arm. But yeah.
I'm too much of a coward. I'm way too much of a coward to get tattoos.
So you don't have any tattoos at all?
No, I am like head to toe, I've got nothing.
It's not too bad. I got 5 of them, so.
I have a deathly fear of needles. If you come at me with a needle, I may or may not punch you.
I get queasy about a needle that, like a drawing blood kind of needle, but this kind of needle doesn't really bother me. I was a little nervous the first tattoo. After that, I was good. It's just a matter of, hey, keep it lotioned up and keep it from getting infected or weird, and no piercings. Fuck that.
Yeah, you'll never see the day I get a piercing is the day my friends have the legal right to bury me, because I am already dead.
So since I do gaming on this platform, I have to ask, what's your favorite video game?
Oh god, it's like the bands. Let's see. When I was a kid, I grew up playing the N64. Yes, I was born in '99, so yes, I'm very much aware that I was very late to the gaming party. But my family wasn't big into video games until after my father passed away, and my stepfather, who was in the urn you see right here, his name is Bodie, if I don't knock him over. He got us into video gaming, and one of the first few consoles he introduced us to was the N64, or the Nintendo 64. And my favorite game to play on there was GoldenEye. I really loved James Bond when I was a kid. I, funny enough, wanted to be an agent for the CIA, and I wanted to be just like James Bond. That's a true story. And then after...
Go ahead.
Then after that, I wanted to be a doctor because I wanted to study and cure type 2 diabetes, because that is what killed him.
Damn, that's crazy. Yeah, GoldenEye 007, I had that number 7 on my top 10 N64 games list. But for me, I think my favorite video games, Super Mario World, is my first video game ever. It's always going to be my favorite. My favorite system is actually the Switch. I think it has just a ridiculous amount of games on it that are really good. Do you have a favorite system?
I would have to say, if I really had to say, PlayStation 4. Despite that I played the Xbox 360 more, I would have to say the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, PS4 was great. So... Since you do like the drums, you do drum covers, do you have a specific drummer that's your favorite?
Favorite drummer of all time? I'll have to give it to none other than the drummer that brought drummers out of the trap, Mr. Eugene Cooper.
All right. For me, it's the Rev, who was with Avenged Sevenfold for years until he died. But anyway, so I want to take this to an uncomfortable part of the conversation. It's something that Rich had said.
I was waiting for it.
Some things up. You were waiting for this part?
Yeah, because I knew this was coming.
Yeah, you knew it was coming. But at one point during his stream, he had a stream, he said, and correct me if I'm wrong about any of this, he had said that he had seen something about you that made him feel like sketchy, and he like kicked you off the show. Is that true?
So the quote, what he said, Dennis Timms, a few people came forward and said that you were creepy towards women. I can't have you on here. Go pray for me while you creep and stalk and harass women, and then ban me.
So you actually kept the quote. You're like, I need to know what he said, and you rewound it and you kept that quote.
I kept that in mind because for the last 4 months, an admin of JKB's, 2 other mods of his, and 2 trolls of Rich that loved, I guess, Jay's asshole. One of them, I mean, I'm going to call him out by name, Gothi Senpai, have been running around claiming that I stalked, harassed, and tried to sexually harass them. Despite the fact they show no evidence, they've shown no messages, no one has ever reported anything back to me other than what they've only said. There has been no screenshots.
You didn't do none of this, correct?
With Gothi Senpai, I followed her on Twitter and I was friends with her on Discord. And I used to message her both on Discord and on YouTube when we were in Jay's chat, because I would trade back and forth on her about Rich. Because me and her used to talk a lot about Rich. Like, she even sent me screenshots of some of his tweets, and I would reply back that Rich really needs to get help. I really felt bad for him. This was, again, when I was called Horror House Media. When Jay had that infamous ban where everybody was banned off his YouTube channel, I came back asking what the hell was happening, and once 2 Cents claimed that I was part of the problem, that I needed to go. Despite the fact I was... Yes, that's right. Despite the fact I was never a mod, and I never had any power on his YouTube channel.
Let me pause on this part of the story, because I think I know the incident you're talking about. Are you talking about the incident where all the mods were, or all the big donators, all the mods were banned, everybody was banned because the computer's hacked, right?
Yes, that is the moment I'm talking about. I was made aware of it because of someone who's also in my Discord.
So you were being scapegoated.
Me and West.
So, yeah, you all were being scapegoated, but really what's come out is we think that computer was malwared and keylogged, and there was a backdoor to it, and that you guys had nothing to do with it.
My suspicion, from what I've heard, and I wish I could see the computer personally, because I could probably tell you a little bit more, because I am researching into becoming a cybersecurity analyst, because technology does fascinate me a lot. Like, I love Apple products for like recording and software and whatnot, but I love Linux for the crazy stuff you can do with it. And I like Windows for the more business aspect. But to get back to the point, I suspect that more than likely Rich either himself put a remote access Trojan on it, which is also called a rat, or he had someone else build it for him and he just downloaded the file and installed it.
But see, here's what concerns me, to get it back to what we were originally talking about, is you're getting scapegoated. You and Wes were getting scapegoated, but then why did the sexual allegations come out of nowhere? Like, that's what boggles my mind, is with no evidence, with nothing else happening, it's just immediately, hey, let's just accuse. And how did that come about?
So the sexual allegations came from, and I went back through and I read some of my messages, was because I used to make a lot of sexual jokes, because my humor is very dark and very sexual, because of my history with dealing with sexual violence and my dark, twisted sense of humor to deal with the aspects of my life. But again, going back to death, because my family has experienced a lot of death, especially in my short amount of time that I've been on Earth. For the past 15 years, I've lost about 5 family members and 3 best friends.
So you told a sexy joke or two. They took it personal. Did they ask you to stop and then you stopped at one point?
There was no asking me to stop. What initially happened was...
Did they even laugh out loud and stuff?
They giggled, and some of them laughed, but not all of them. And one of them, who I made that joke towards to, was actually in response to another joke. So it starts with a call in JKB, and I wish I had proof of this, because I didn't record the call, and I should have. Looking at it now, I should have recorded that call. But one of the people in there made a joke that they should all have an orgy in the Discord. I made the joke back. I'm not participating unless person's name I'm redacting referees the fight. I couldn't finish my sentence because my end of it dropped out. So when I popped back in, all they heard was participate and fight. So they thought that I wanted to beat people up sexually. And I didn't know that until afterwards, after I got banned the first time. So I have
such a sensitive snowflake, freaking groups of people on the internet. Honestly, that is the most tame, mild, dumb shit I've ever heard. Nobody should be accusing you of anything based off that, in my opinion. So that can stop now.
Well, it gets worse from there, because then when I befriended Gothy Senpai, and I was talking to a couple others, I had found out from another Discord server of a couple of people that I used to be friends with, who now are my trolls because they stalked my channel. I know, I've seen the analytics for it. And basically helped spread the rumor that I was a sexual predator. Again, no evidence, no screenshots. One of the other guys' name is Glamorous Frog. That was another one, or excuse me, not Glamorous Frog. His name is Enraged Gecko. Apologies to Glamorous Frog. He had nothing to do with it. It was Enraged Gecko that did this. He ran into a bunch of Discord servers, called up people, and told them that I was being a creep, an harasser, and a sexual stalker to women because of the joke I made at the previous names person redacted that I did. And also one other joke I made at my friend Chris, or who used to be my friend. His name is Chris. I can say this because he's publicly made that known. Because it's also on my YouTube channel. I have the video of us working together at the time when we were friends. I called him Chris McMahon's dildo collection because I was making fun of Vince McMahon, who at the time was being sued for allegedly sexually harassing and assaulting one of his employees. And he allegedly had a dildo collection of every wrestler that ever worked in WWE. Or ever tried to. And I was making jokes that I was chasing him around with the dildo that was named after my father, because the punchline was going to be because I don't know how else to deal with the fact that Vince McMahon may have made a dildo after my father, because my father wanted to work in WWE at that time known as WWF. Right. Well, I didn't get to finish that joke because they cut me off and kicked me out.
Wow, I mean, what sensitive little bitches. Is this all this community between JKB? It's all between JKB and RTU and 8-Bit Eric's community, right? Or just JKB and RTU?
It's all three, because there's a couple gentlemen in 8-Bit Eric's Discord that I have threatened, and I did put an apology out for that, because I shouldn't have threatened people. I shouldn't threat people. However, I suppose when your back gets pushed to the wall and you don't know what else to do, you lash out.
But you said, not to beat a dead horse, you apologize for that. We can move on. They accepted the apology, I assume?
I don't know if they ever saw the apology. I don't know if they are even paying attention. And I'm not going to call them out by name either.
If they happen to be watching this, He said he's sorry. So that part we can set aside. The other stuff where you're being wrongfully accused, I think we can just look at that and go, throw it in the garbage. It's not credible unless somebody comes forward with actual evidence and it's not just some locker room talk joke. I don't want to hear about it, and neither does anybody else on the internet. I stand behind you on that, brother.
And I appreciate it, because I got a little funny story to tell with that, and we can move on from there. One of Rich's dents, I'm not going to name him out of respect, because me and him finally came to a mutual agreement about leaving each other alone. That, like I said, I'm not going to name his name, went to one of the trolls that I was talking to, not trolls, but detractor, who was you remember Rich told you there was another editor that he hired and fired? I actually got to talk to them personally. I talked to them personally. While we're not friends, I kind of got to know their story a little bit because I was curious, because I personally wanted to hear their story. I wasn't trying to make any content. I legitimately wanted to know. Mostly because I wanted to hear them out and hear their frustration.
Pause 1 second. I want to give the audience a little backstory on this part right here. Once Rich did fire Jay, he wanted a clips editor. So he hired a clips editor and I believe was paying them $1,000 a month to do clips. And since that happened, those clips did not get very good views. I'm not saying it's any negative towards the editor. There's nothing she can really do trying to make shit into gold. And anyway, so now Rich fires this new editor, and what did you learn about this?
Well, I learned is that, from what I understand, they told me they were male, so I don't know if they're male or female, so I'm just going to go with the neutral they,
okay,
out of respect.
I thought it was a woman.
Because he said it was a woman, and the profile picture is of a female wrestler, but from what I understand, it's a male, from our personal conversation.
He might just say that to throw us off. He doesn't want to know who the other editor is. He doesn't want to make the same mistake he made with Jay as far as making them an online personality. So that part, whether they're a man or woman, is irrelevant. But did Rich pay them on the way out, at least?
Yes, they did get the full payment, and from what I understand, they ended on somewhat mutual terms until Rich made the statement about looking for another clips editor. That's when they kind of got pissed off, because it's like you hired and you fired me for no reason, basically.
Well, he's looking to go cheaper, I bet. Even cheaper.
Probably so. It's my best guess on that one. But to finish the story...
Just edit your own shit at that point. You know what I mean?
That's what I do. I don't pay anybody to edit my stuff. I learned everything. Audio, video, all of this is me. I learned to do this over the years, and it took me years to learn. I'm still not good at it.
I gotta be honest. If I ever made enough money on YouTube, I'll be the first one to tell you I'm hiring an editor. But I'm not gonna pull the same crap that Rich is pulling.
Right, and funny enough, I'll get into that in a minute. But to finish the story, so I was talking to them because they were talking about who might have done it, and I said, and I named that person because I was like, that's the only person I could think of that would have a vendetta against Jay, because apparently Jay was a dick to them when Jay was still, allegedly, according to Rich, he was a dick to him. And so that person commented and started leaking out the stuff from my Discord. And he was like, he's a sexual predator. You need to make videos to take him down. We need to get his channel taken down. And the detractor, replied back that unless there is actual proof of me committing these crimes, they were not going to do anything to me. And then when another one of Rich's defenders came at me and started going at me for it and was trying to convince him, he repeated the same thing again, that we weren't friends, we were never going to be friends, but he was not going to, they were not going to make videos or post or anything unless there was evidence to prove I committed those crimes. And they finally left him alone after he sent him a bunch of kissy pictures and calling him baby.
Oh my God.
And they call me a sexual predator.
You know, here's the thing. Because you're trying to use logic and common sense when dealing with all these emotionally fragile fans of these fan bases, when you're trying to just, you're trying to make peace with all these fan bases and stuff. I think 8-Bit Eric might have told you once, he was trying to say you were fence riding or whatever, whenever you were just trying to actually, you were trying to mend the wounds here. And instead, what ended up happening is I feel like you're kind of catching flack from both sides for no reason. You know what I'm saying?
It comes from my religious beliefs because I believe in Jesus Christ, and Christ called me to help those in need. And I believe in God's power of healing, that you should be there to bond and mend the wounds, not inflict more. Because as Christ states, and I'll try to quote it from Matthew correctly. I believe it's chapter 8, verse 43 to 46, and it goes, "And so you've been told, love your friends, but hate your enemies. But I call you to love your enemies and those who persecute you. For the Father reigns on the injustice and the just, and he loves the unrighteous and the righteous all the same." If you only greet your people, are you not getting anything different than those of the tax collectors that you hate? I may be paraphrasing it at this point. And then he also states, if you only love those that love you, are you no better than the pagans that you condemn to death? So I call you to be perfect, just as your Father calls me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that from what I've seen from the outside looking in, it seems like you had a pretty big heart on the situation, and people mistook that kindness for weakness. However, you have an ability to hit back. I've seen you have this ability. You can punch back when in a corner. So, and I think that Epic or Trash is definitely one way that you're able to do that. So I commend you for that, for sure. You're not just rolling over and letting people talk shit for no reason. So that's good, at least.
I don't see, because I try to be as pacifist as possible, because I remember when I used to be a teenager and I was a fucking dickhead. I will fully admit it. I was horrible, and I probably shouldn't use that language, but it's true. I was, and I looked at that, and I'm trying to tell myself now as an adult, I do not want to be this angry man, this angry person who just hates on people. I should be loving on them because I don't know their story. I don't know what happened to them. So why not befriend them? Why not love on them and help them? Because I know what it was like to not have friends, to not have people who wanted to help me. I've been in that boat before. It sucks. And I don't want others to be in that boat. That's why I work with a best friend of mine, and I can't say his name because he has a YouTube channel and he is a musician. His name is Neil Sponsel. We work together on a podcast called Local Bands of Georgia, where we uplift local bands here that don't get any spotlight, that don't have any way to advertise themselves. Yes, because you can start a Facebook page, you can start an Instagram page, but it doesn't mean you know what to do. It doesn't mean you're going to have a platform. It took me years to build what I have, and I don't have much. I counted together everything I have, and I have barely 4,000 followers altogether, and that's everything, every one of my accounts, even my private ones put together. My business ones is like less than 1,000.
Well, I think you have to love what you do, number one, and you have to have passion for it, or there's no point. So, yeah, I think that the followers, the subscribers, all those people will come in due time. It's just a matter of, you got to enjoy what you're doing. If talking about drama is not something that's enjoyable, then I wouldn't suggest doing it. And that goes for anybody. It goes for Rich. It goes for you. It goes for me. Anybody that is not enjoying talking drama, just don't do it. I like to keep it light. I like to just make jokes. And I don't want to be so emotionally invested in other people's lives and these parasocial relationships. You know what I mean?
Right. Because my thing is, when I come on these platforms, I'm actually legitimately looking to build friendships because I legitimately want to be friends with other people from all walks of life. I am not looking for parasocial relationships. I actually want to be friends. I legitimately, that is something I want. I don't want a parasocial relationship. I don't want it to be one-sided. So if you're not interested, I want you to tell me, hey, I'm not interested. And no, this is not me pulling a Dr. Disrespect and wanting to hit on minors or anything like that. That's really fucked up. And I can't believe that people do that. And I condemn that action.
Yeah, you have to, you have to know who you're talking to, and you got to know where the boundaries are and respect the boundaries. And unfortunately for Dr. Disrespect, he disrespected the boundaries when it comes to adult and minor. And that's pretty disgusting, actually. But it can happen to anybody, apparently. Dr. Disrespect can walk into any bar and get any woman he wanted, and yet he still went for a minor. Wrap your head around that one. You know what I mean? Just go.
It's why I kind of, and I don't mean to make it this very disparaging towards people, but it's why I say that mankind is one of the cruelest animals there is, because we know right from wrong. We know what's right and we know what's wrong, yet we still choose to do what's wrong. And that also shows, in my opinion, that we have free will, because we are consciously aware of what's right and wrong. It's why I apologize to those who got offended by my jokes, and I apologize to those that I threatened, because I did wrong and I should have done better. So moving forward, I'm trying to do better. Unlike Rich, who says that, I actually mean it, and I'm working towards that.
But I do hope that this will finally squash and settle anybody who's making false accusations about you. That needs to stop right here, right now. And going forward, I really hope we don't see any more of those false accusations. People will just leave you alone, or they can at least be friendly with you if they talk to you. And going forward, we won't have any more of that kind of drama happening, because I think it's so wrong to have somebody's name thrown under the bus for false accusations. So I'm glad we could finally put an end to those accusations here and now. And yeah, that's I think that's a good thing, don't you?
At the end of the day, honestly, I really, whether they stop with the allegations or not is up to them, because they can continue to do it all they want. People can ask for others to stop, doesn't mean they're going to stop. All I personally want is for them to continue their lives and to move forward, and I hope that they're feeling better or they're doing better, because I've known some of these people. I've got to talk to them personally, and it sucks knowing the positions that they're in, and I pray for them to get in better positions. And if I was in a better position myself, I would reach out and try to help them get in a better spot. Despite how much I despise what they said about me, I would still take a bullet for them if it meant that their life would be better. If they were better off, I will take the bullet. That's the kind of person I am, because that was the kind of person. That was the kind of man my father was in life, and that's who I want to be. That was the kind of man my stepfather was in life. That's the kind of man I want to be, and I wish more men were like that. But unfortunately, that doesn't look like that's going to be the case anytime soon.
Yeah, but yeah, at the very least, let's hope that they chill a little bit. You know what I mean? But anywho, so what are your future plans with the channel? Like, what do you got going on? You got anything cooking in the oven?
I've got a few ideas cooking up. So the first thing is I'm working on more original music. I'm redoing one of my original songs that is probably the most popular one I've done. It's called Broken Love for Broken Hearts. It's one of my favorite songs I've ever created. I'm working on it to retool it so I can have my best friend Neil Sponsel sing on that song, because I have some beautiful lyrics that I want sung. It's about a father writing to his son on his deathbed that broken love cannot fix broken hearts. How can you, the person who's bleeding bleeding out, help the other person who's also bleeding out. If you yourself are bleeding out.
Yeah.
Or as Christ put it, how can you help the person with the speck in their eye if you got the giant plank in yours?
Yeah, I think I totally think that the biggest thing is just not being a hypocrite. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be a hypocrite ever on anything. And so, yeah, I get where you're coming from. Do you want to touch politics at all, or is that a subject that's a little too spicy today?
Well, as far as like finishing up with the channel, I've thought about doing a presidential live stream as well. I'm planning on doing more live streams, more drumming live streams. I've had a lot of fun with them, but YouTube doesn't like them because it gets smacked so hard with copyright that it's because a nightmare to deal with after a while. But as far as like politics, as far as politically, the most I'll say is that I'm a moderate conservative or a moderate Republican, whichever way you want to phrase that. And what that means is that while I grew up with more conservative values, being a Christian is considered conservative, at least in the U.S. is considered conservative. I personally sit in the middle. I believe that people should have rights to guns and rights to abortions. That's it. That is the easiest way I can put it. Freedom of autonomy of your body and freedom to protect yourself from those who would threaten your safety or your family's safety.
Let's be clear about something, though, and I'm sure you would agree. Whether our audience is Democrat, Republican, independents, libertarians, anarchists, I don't care. I like any person that's in my audience. I like them, and they can disagree with me politically on anything. Do you second that?
Some of my best friends are actually very liberal or libertarian. And I tell people all the time that I don't wish to live in an echo chamber. I want people who are of a different opinions because, like I said, I want to be friends with all walks of life, all kinds of opinions and different beliefs. I try not to, I should say, hate on anyone. I try my hardest, and my community is open to anyone that wants to come in. Unless you are a Nazi or a bigot, those are the only two that are not allowed in my community for obvious reasons. Everyone else is perfectly welcome. I don't care about your religious beliefs. I don't care whether or not if you hire a hooker on every Tuesday night. I don't care where you work or what you do in your hobbies, as long as you're not a serial killer. And if you are, please do not tell me. I do not need to have to deal with the police about that. That is your personal business. Don't tell me. I do not care about any of that, because to me, I care about the person, not your job title, not if your hobby is to listen to Donald Trump and Joe Biden talk about how they're better at golf. I don't care about that.
It doesn't matter how rich they are, what color they are, what their political idea is, whether they're gay or straight. I don't care. You're welcome on this channel. Sounds like you're welcome on the Den of Tims. And, you know, that's the important thing to remember. We're all just human. But I do want to say, we got to be honest, though. Good old Joe was not looking good in that debate, was he?
I'm going to be honest, that was probably the worst debate I've ever watched in my entire life. Neither one of them looked good, in my opinion. I tell people the only reason why Donald Trump won is because he was able to form a sentence. Most of his points I didn't agree with either. But the only reason why he won, in my opinion, is because he can form a sentence. That's it. That is my dead honest opinion.
They're just too old. Like, we need an age limit going up also, not just the 35 minimum. We need a maximum age limit.
I personally say the maximum age limit should be 70. If you're over 70, you cannot run for presidency. I think that's exactly what it should be. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that. Those are going to be like the older generations. But a lot of the younger ones, like my generation, is going to say that they agree with me. I think the presidency should be mostly for 40 and 50-year-olds, those who've had a good amount of experience in life in leadership. That's my personal take on that.
Also, my personal take, too, is I don't really like the idea of even having a president anymore. I think it's kind of a ridiculous job. I think you can chop it up and have different secretaries running different things and not have a single president. It it makes us look like we're running a freaking kingdom or something. It's kind of antiquated, actually. You know what I'm saying?
I disagree with that because of the way that the government branch is supposed to be set up. The idea is that the president's supposed to be the head hold of the House. Like, the idea is he's the head of the executives, just like Congress has two separate parts that makes it the head of its own branch, and then you've got the Supreme Court, which is supposed to balance it. The idea is that you have a balancing act. It's kind of like a juggling act in that sense, that all three juggle different responsibilities in order for the government as a whole, the federal government, I should say, as a whole, to function. And then it breaks down because it's similar
so much responsibility for one man. You know, one man, that much responsibility. It just seems a little. It seems like it's too hard of a job. You know what I mean?
It can be an extremely hard job. That's why in my opinion, we need to not pick people like Trump and Biden. We need to pick people that, yes, are good businessmen, but not just politicians, but also people who have like served in the military, like generals, 5-star generals, people like that. Those who have spent a long time doing that kind of work, because those are the kind of people that are trained to do this work. I'm like, those are the kind of people, in my opinion, we should vote for. Not just a politician who happen to have a rich family off of the back of big oil or big pharmacy or whatever company they happen to come from, nor should we have to pick from businessmen who have had shady histories.
Last point about politics. Who do you think's winning the election?
Seeing what the way everything is, I suspect people are going to pick for Trump simply because they don't like Biden. I think that's what's going to happen. People are going to pick it's going to go back to, like, I go back to 2016. The reason people picked Donald Trump is because they didn't like Hillary Clinton. And I suspect the same reason they're going to vote for Trump is because they don't like Biden. It's the lesser of the two evils is how I look at it. And to me, it's not great. I hate that idea. I think it should be who's the better man, not who do I hate the least.
And I know you might have touched on it earlier, but I do want to remind our audience we might have something planned for the presidential election night. We might have a crazy live stream, a simulcast, guest on, and it might just be an absolute shit show. So that's like 4 months away. So look forward to that. Keep your eye out on that. Keep your eye out for more episodes of Epic Trash, more drum covers by Den of Tims. And of course, with me, keep your eye out for some top 10 lists, some game reviews, movie reviews, retrospectives, where we go over important figures of gaming. And anyway, do you got any questions for me or any final thoughts?
As far as final thoughts, the biggest thing I want people to understand about my YouTube channel is that we're here to have a good time. We're not here for a long time. I don't expect to be here forever, but I want people to have a good time when they're here. And if you got any kind of songs that you want me to play, let me know. You can send me a business email. I have my email connected. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at the Den of Tims. So if you want to message me there or tag me in a post of a song you want me to do a cover of, let me know. Join my Discord server through my Patreon. It's $5 a month, and you'll help support the channel. And you help support me and the content I make, because YouTube, at least from what I understand, I've been told, does not like the fact that I cuss out a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we let cuss words fly every now and then. It's whatever. But I do have a request for you as far as like a drum cover, if you want to do it.
Go right on ahead.
Have you done Hail to the King by Avenged Sevenfold yet?
I have thought about it, actually.
Awesome. So, hey, I'll be watching out for that video. So you want to take this away? You got anything you like to tell our shared audience here before we head off?
I I got one special drum cover coming up for my stepfather who passed away last year. Like I said, from complications from type 2 diabetes. And it's gonna be one of his favorite songs. See, I'm gonna try to tell the story without giving too many details. There was a woman he used to date before he moved here to Georgia to live with us, and that used to be his girlfriend. She took her life a few years ago, and the song that they used to listen together, and it was one of his favorites, was Elton John's "Tiny Dancer." So I plan on doing a cover of that as a tribute to him. One final tribute, because I have 2 of them already on my channel, Dead Flowers and For the Good Times.
Wow, I'll definitely be on the lookout for that. You know, I do want to let the audience know from your side, hey, check out my channel if you like gaming. I'll be here. And thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Take us away.
And this is the AJ Tims with the Den of Tim signing out. Make sure you check out my Patreon, hit up my Discord. We have movie nights every Friday night. I love you guys. Until next time, this is AJ Tims signing out. Have a good one, everybody.